Hello everyone, and we're going to do this video a little different. I'm going to show you how I start out with a selection of stuff to do these 50 styles with. I've got a shirt here that I thrifted that is, it doesn't say, it's a cotton, it feels, it's nubby. I can't remember the name of this type of fabric, but it's really pretty. It's almost like a linen. Gorgeous color. Has these really pretty, unusual colored buttons. I can't tell on this green whether they're green or they're yellow. So I'm going to get them off of here and save those. And with your thrifted items, save everything that you can, because even if you're not going to use it immediately, you use it eventually. So let's see. That is a yellow green. Look at that. Isn't that an unusual color button? Isn't that pretty? So we will definitely save those buttons. Let's see, how many are there? There are 3 on the front that I can tell. Oh, there's 4. Let's get all 4 of them. Okay. Whoops, I dropped. There it is. Put them in my little button holder. Now there are a couple of motifs on here that I definitely want to keep. Isn't that pretty? So we'll just come up this side seam and over. And I just cut a little bigger than the motif so that I can have something to work with when I get ready to use it. Okay. Love that. It's a beautiful color. It's going to make a beautiful addition to some kind of slow stitch project. Isn't that pretty? Okay, we have that. What else can we save off of this? Anything else on the front? No. I cut this little piece, little bead thing off of the collar. And I do believe there's another one, yes, over here on this lapel. So let's just cut around that. Again, I have no idea what I'm going to use these items or how, but the fact is, when I go thrifting, I look for things like this, embellishments, because I always end up using them somewhere, somehow. Okay, another little one. A teeny tiny butterflies. I don't know if you can tell that, but that's a teeny tiny butterfly. Okay, now, okay, here's some more over here. All right. There's several things here that I want to save. So let's get them out of here. I always retrieve my buttons and motifs and trims and laces and everything like that first, and then I look at what I've got left in fabric. Fabric is not my main concern normally. If I'm buying something, this one was bought specifically for the different motifs and little embellishments that it had. Okay, so I've got three of these. All right, so that's good. Now I've got this little butterfly over here, and I've got this cross stitch piece, both of which I'll just leave it together for now, but I could separate them and use them. But isn't that a gorgeous butterfly and on such a pretty color? Okay, now we have a small motif inside a big motif. So we are going to have to cut this one close to the edge to save as much as we can. And it's okay because it's got a turned and finished edge. And I'll just give it some space over here. Okay, so now we have that one. And we will also keep this, because even though it's cut into, when you're designing, let's see if I can find something to demonstrate here. Let's say you're designing and you want to put this on something, well then you can come in and add something over it like that, and no one but you will ever know that it's cut out and that you're covering a hole. It can be part of your design, actually. So let's see. How about a really pretty leaf like that? Isn't that pretty? So anyway, you can use it, so don't discard it. Okay. So in this shirt there was this design, this whole one here, and this whole one here. All right, and we have another little cross stitch thing which is coming apart, but there are two that could be added to something really cute. Okay, and let's see what happened to that one. Okay, now we have all this green fabric left, because I believe that we've got everything off of here. There was nothing in the back. Okay, so now this fabric, what's left here, and I went in and picked out a couple of more fabrics that I could use. Okay, so this was a good green for this. Okay, all right, let's find the front again. I believe that's got a pretty piece in there. Being thrifted, it's worn in areas you want to look good at your fabric. Choose what you want. The front here, it looks pretty worn. The back across the shoulder blade area, you know, where it gets worn when you're sitting, leaning on stuff, but the lower back end looks pretty good, doesn't it? So we get enough out of that for our next project, plus this. Then I thought, okay, I wanted to bring in a different color. So I had this silky stuff that was in the great greens with contrasting greens and some blues. And then I had this sparkly fabric in blues. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to create out of this palette my next styles for the 50 styles. So we'll see what I end up with. Now I may add more. I'm not saying that I won't, but I could start with this as a background and then switch to this as a background, or I could bring in a totally different color for a background. We'll have to see when I get done what I'm going to do, but you will see these fabrics in the next 50 styles project. So you, when you're designing, just grab something like I did here, and then start putting together whatever you have. These scraps I have, and let me tell you, this is vintage. This is old. This is very old. We used to have a sewing factory close to us that made formals, and all their offcuts they'd throw in a big bin, and you could go over and for like $5 fill a sack full of offcuts. And that place hasn't been in business for 20 years, so you can imagine how old some of these pieces are. So vintage. Don't know how old this fabric is, but it isn't that old. It's a quilt cotton, really nice fabric here, and then this garment don't have a clue how old it is, but probably not that old. So that's how to start. Now, let's see what I'm going to do with it, okay? Hang in there. Well, I'm glad you hung in there because I've got these two done. Now, this first one, I love it. I hope you do too. It is pretty simple, and it has very simple stitches. Let me bring that up for you to see that. Okay, very simple stitches. We have just a straight overcast stitching, a running stitch, little petal stitch here. And that's pretty much it. We have some sequins, we have some beads. We've used 4 of the fabrics that we looked at in the beginning. And another interesting thing about this was in the first part you saw me cut off the buttons and to use those. I didn't use those in this project, but I did cut the buttonholes off the other side of the shirt. And I'm not sure you can see that, but that is a buttonhole right there. This one is, and these two are. And the thing I did different here was I took some fabric through the buttonholes on those. So I was able to use the buttonhole part as well as the buttons themselves. So never think that something can't be used. It's just a matter of getting an inspiration or a creative idea of how we might use it, okay? Now, I'm really happy with this one. I did do a double row of stitching around the outside on that. Now, let's look at another one done. Same identical pattern, same identical fabrics used in a different way. This one has more of this blue glitzy fabric here that making the flowers. It has an addition of yarn here, which I didn't put any yarn in this one at all, but this one has it. And then the plaid squared out fabric here. Just you can see the flowers made out of the different fabrics. The focal point leaf fabric here is the stem over here. We just played with the different elements, keeping the same fabric. The only thing added was to this one was yarn, and the thing added to this one was the beads and the sequins. So on this one I did an overcast stitch around the outside and an outlining stitch. Let me bring you up so you can see that better. An outlining stitch around the outside of the artwork, so it helps it stand out a little bit. Okay. Now, these, I love them both. They are very colorful and very pretty and striking, but they're two totally different looks out of the same identical pattern. And as you've seen going along, every piece of artwork looks different, though it's made with the same pattern. And doing these pairs shows how you can take the same fabrics, and just by the choices you make, you could make different pieces of artwork. And, you know, out of these same 4 fabrics that are in these, we could make 2 more totally different by the way we changed up the fabrics and how we combined them. And so creating and designing is just a matter of doing things differently, playing with them, combining them different, switching out, using something here maybe you wouldn't think you would, and so forth and so on. Just let your imagination run. Don't be locked into any box that says you have to use this for the flower, and you have to use this for the stem, and you have to use this for the leaf. You don't. You can do what you want to do. Okay? All right. I wanted to show you these last 2 and hope that you've been inspired a little to create a little fabric art yourself. Until next time, this is Linda at Icky Chic Designs.